The Mysterious Mansion. Lady Florence, a wealthy and esteemed noblewoman, lived a life of luxury in her grand mansion, surrounded by her loyal servants. Despite her opulent lifestyle, she felt a deep sense of loneliness. One day, she decided to invite her young niece, Miss Eleanor, to live with her in the mansion. "I'm so glad you're coming to live with me, dear," Lady Florence said as she welcomed Miss Eleanor to the mansion. "I've been feeling a bit lonely lately, and I think it will be lovely to have some company." "I'm thrilled to be here, Aunt Florence," Miss Eleanor replied as she hugged her aunt. "I've always loved this mansion, and I'm excited to explore it." As Miss Eleanor settled into her new life, she began to notice strange occurrences in the mansion. Doors would creak open and shut on their own, and she would catch glimpses of a mysterious figure out of the corner of her eye. "Aunt Florence, I think I've seen someone in the mansion," Miss Eleanor said as she sat down to dinner with her aunt. A tall, handsome man with piercing blue eyes. "Who is he?" Lady Florence's expression changed, and for a moment, Miss Eleanor saw a glimmer of fear in her eyes. "I don't know what you're talking about, dear," she said, her voice trembling. "You're just imagining things." But Miss Eleanor was insistent. She had seen the man several times, and she was determined to get to the bottom of the mystery. "I've seen him in the hallways, in the gardens, and even in my own bedroom," Miss Eleanor said as she sat in the library with her aunt. "I know I'm not imagining things, Aunt Florence. Who is he?" Lady Florence sighed and looked away. "I don't know, dear," she said, "but I think you should focus on your studies and forget about this nonsense." Miss Eleanor was not deterred. She continued to see the mysterious figure, and she became more and more determined to uncover the truth. One day, as she was exploring the mansion, she stumbled upon an old portrait of a man with piercing blue eyes. She gasped as she realized that it was the same man she had seen. "Who is this?" Miss Eleanor asked one of the servants. "That's Mr. Allard, Lady Florence's fiancé," the servant replied. "He died many years ago before they could marry." Miss Eleanor's eyes widened in surprise. She realized that the mysterious figure she had seen was none other than Mr. Allard. As she continued to investigate, Miss Eleanor discovered that Mr. Allard had been a kind and gentle soul, and that Lady Florence had been deeply in love with him. She also discovered that Lady Florence had never married because she had never been able to forget Mr. Allard. Miss Eleanor felt a deep sense of sadness for her aunt. She realized that Lady Florence's loneliness was not just due to her living situation, but also due to her unresolved grief. One evening, as they sat in the library, Miss Eleanor decided to confront her aunt. "Aunt Florence, I know about Mr. Allard," she said. "I know he was your fiancé and that he died before you could marry. Why didn't you ever marry?" Lady Florence's eyes welled up with tears. "I couldn't bear the thought of living without him," she said. "I was so in love with him, and his death devastated me. I never married because I couldn't forget him." Miss Eleanor felt a deep sense of understanding for her aunt. She realized that Lady Florence's love for Mr. Allard had endured even after his death. But then, Lady Florence said something that shocked Miss Eleanor. "I had no idea that Mr. Allard's spirit still haunts this mansion," she said. "I thought I was just lonely, but it seems that I had company all along." Miss Eleanor's eyes widened in surprise. "You mean you didn't know that Mr. Allard's ghost was here?" she asked. Lady Florence shook her head. "No, dear," she said. "I had no idea. But it makes sense, doesn't it? I've always felt like I was being watched, even when I was alone." As they sat there, Miss Eleanor felt a sense of peace wash over her. She realized that Mr. Allard's spirit had been watching over Lady Florence all along, and that he had been waiting for her to remember him. From that day on, Miss Eleanor and Lady Florence would sit together in the library, talking about Mr. Allard and the life they had shared. Miss Eleanor would see Mr. Allard's ghostly figure less frequently, and when she did, she would feel a sense of peace. The Lonely Old Man. Mr. Walter, a wealthy and esteemed English nobleman, lived a life of luxury in his grand mansion, surrounded by his loyal servants. Despite his opulent lifestyle, he felt a deep sense of loneliness. As a young man, he had prioritized his career above all else, and now, in his twilight years, he regretted not having a family of his own. One day, while browsing through a local newspaper, Mr. Walter stumbled upon an advertisement for a young boy who was looking for a part-time job to support his family. The boy, Hanson, was 12 years old and had a passion for reading. Mr. Walter, intrigued by the idea, decided to hire Hanson to read to him every afternoon in his library. As the days went by, Mr. Walter grew fond of Hanson's company. The young boy's enthusiasm and love for reading brought joy to the old man's life. Hanson would arrive every afternoon, and Mr. Walter would sit in his favorite armchair, listening intently as Hanson read from the classics. One afternoon, as they were reading A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, Mr. Walter suddenly stopped and looked at Hanson with a serious expression. "Hanson, I want to ask you something," he said. "You must work hard to achieve everything in life. Never give up on your dreams." Hanson looked at Mr. Walter with wise eyes. "I'd rather live a simple life and have a family, sir," he replied. "What's the point of working too hard if I'll be lonely in my old age?" Mr. Walter was taken aback by Hanson's response. He had never thought about it that way before. "You're right, Hanson," he said softly. "I've worked hard my whole life, but I don't have a family to share my happiness with." Hanson smiled and placed his hand on Mr. Walter's arm. "I'm glad to be your friend, sir," he said, "and I hope you're not too lonely anymore." Mr. Walter felt touched by Hanson's words. He realized that happiness didn't just come from wealth and success, but also from relationships with others. As the days turned into weeks, Mr. Walter and Hanson grew closer. Mr. Walter began to see the world through Hanson's eyes, and his loneliness started to fade. Hanson, in turn, learned valuable lessons from Mr. Walter's life experiences. However, not everyone was pleased with the arrangement. Mrs. Jenkins, the housekeeper, disapproved of Hanson's presence in the mansion. "He's just a child, Mr. Walter," she would say. "What can he possibly teach you?" But Mr. Walter saw something in Hanson that others didn't. He saw a kindred spirit, a young boy who was wise beyond his years. And as they sat in the library surrounded by books and the silence of the mansion, Mr. Walter felt a sense of peace he had not known in years. One afternoon, as they were reading The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, Hanson asked Mr. Walter about the importance of following one's dreams. Mr. Walter smiled, remembering his own dreams and aspirations. "It's never too late to follow your dreams, Hanson," he said. "Even at my age, I can still learn and grow." Hanson's eyes lit up with excitement. "Really, sir? You think so?" Mr. Walter nodded. "Yes, I do. And I think I'm starting to realize that it's never too late to start living the life you truly want." As the sun set over the mansion, casting a warm glow over the library, Mr. Walter felt a sense of gratitude towards Hanson. The young boy had brought light and joy into his life, and he had taught him that it's never too late to start anew. "Thank you, Hanson," Mr. Walter said. his voice filled with emotion. "You've taught me so much more than I ever could have imagined." Hansen smiled, his eyes shining with happiness. "It's been my pleasure, sir. I've learned a lot from you too." And as they sat there, surrounded by the silence and the books, Mr. Walter knew that he had found a true friend in Hansen, a friend who would stay with him for the rest of his days.